Once you start to get your license, right, as a realtor, what do you think like new realtors are not expecting, or that they don't see that obstacle coming in,
Yeah.
coming at them?
Well, I think I'm going to speak very quickly to three things. The first high level being entrepreneurs. So every entrepreneur is a minimum of 6 months underfunded, right? They get started, they think this is what it's going to cost, this is what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to start making money. And they fail to realize that they have a minimum. So whatever your capital plan is, for whatever you need, add at least 6 months to it. The biggest obstacle, I think, for this category, if you have not worked for yourself before, that's going to be your biggest obstacle, right? It means like, if you've got the mindset, I get a paycheck every second Friday or every 2 weeks or every week, right, or every month, that's not what happens in this game. And so, I would definitely share with you that, you've got to have a mindset. And so how do you overcome that? Invest in yourself, invest in personal development, invest in personal growth, get a coach, hang around people that are better than you, being plugged in. Another thing I would always say, you want to have some coaches and mentors. Michael, you've been a pretty good one to me as of late in something that I don't know anything about, right? They say find people that have what you want or know what you want to know, and just hang out with them a little more often, right? And what do they say is you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together.
All right. So this is Scott Kearns' story on how he started real estate as a real estate agent. And we're going to cover exactly like what it takes to become a real estate agent. Can you do it part-time? Is it better to go full-time at it? Who is made to be a real estate agent? And also like what it takes to be successful in this current market. Scott, welcome.
Yeah. Hey, great to see you again, Michael. Always energetically lifting to hang out with you. And thanks for having me with you here today. And, thanks so much for your help in expanding my real estate career. You guys, Michael's media company is amazing. Strategies to help you in every way, shape, and form to generate leads. What I would say most about Michael, man, this guy's got a heart of service. So maybe that's just where we'll delve in. He's got a real heart for helping people. And I appreciate that. So hey, my name's Scott Kearns. I am a real estate agent here in Toronto with the Thompson team, Harvey Callis Real Estate in the GTA. And I'm just happy to share some of my story today, Michael. I know you thought maybe some of this might inspire some agents that or inspire some people that maybe want to get into the field that could, do some good things. So great to be here with you today.
Yeah. I mean, thanks to you basically for, accepting the invite to get on the interview. So I wanted to touch about your story. Let's start with like the beginning. Like, first of all, when you were a little kid, like, did you always say to yourself, like, hey, I want to become a real estate agent. I love houses. I love, like, how did that start? Like, when exactly did you know, like, you wanted to become a realtor?
That's a great question. The interesting thing, I won't start with the story of, I was born here in Halifax in Grace Memorial Hospital. What I will say is, I graduated from university. I went to school to be a doctor. And, I decided at that point in time that it was not actually what I wanted to do. I think that was more my mom's dream than it was anything. And so, there I was. I have a degree in pharmacology, graduated from university. And I became a waiter and a ski coach, which really, really drove my mom. I think my dad kind of thought it was what he probably really wanted to do in his life, but he had a pretty good, successful corporate career. Anyway, so that fast forward, the funny thing was back in 1990, I got my real estate license when I came out of university. I was like, well, I can't be a waiter and a ski coach forever. Got my real estate license. The market back then, I was going to get into commercial real estate. A friend of my dad's owned a brokerage. And he said, you'd be better off getting a paper route. And so, while I didn't get a paper route, I did not pursue my real estate career. So that was probably the first inkling that I had to be, get into the real estate game. I actually went on to get into the restaurant business, which, there are some parallels, actually. I mean, you gotta work hard, long hours, different hours, very much things that are true to be inside of real estate as well. Fast forward that, I actually owned 4 restaurants, a couple in the US, here in Canada as well. I ran the #1 restaurant in Canada at one point in my career. And so I left that business because lifestyle was important to me. I think that's going to be something, if somebody wanted to become a realtor, you've got to choose, and I always say, design the life you want and then go out and find a way to pay for it. Right. And so that's kind of simplicity, right? I mean, you want to live a really, and, I listened to a guy today, they talk about time freedom, right? They talk about, financial freedom. One of the big things these days is geographical freedom, right? And being able to do what you want from where you want. And so, I got out of the restaurant business, and that was probably approximately 12, 13 years ago. And I played around with a couple different things, which sometimes isn't such a bad thing to kind of, check in. Hey, oh, what do I like about this? What do I like about that? Sooner or later, I say you got to make a decision, right? The only bad decision is the one you don't make. Yogi Berra, great quote. When you reach a fork in the road, take it. So what happened was I got into basically into social marketing, network marketing, multi-level marketing, whatever you want to call it. I had never been in the industry. I had no real knowledge of how it worked. I certainly didn't have any bad attitude towards it. There was a couple guys, one owned a motorcycle shop, the other guy was a pro wakeboarder. And I thought, well, if these guys are doing it and they seem pretty cool, I think I'd like to do it too. So I was very fortunate to be coached and mentored. Another thing I would always say, you want to have some coaches and mentors. Michael, you've been a pretty good one to me as of late in something that I don't know anything about, right? They say find people that have what you want or know what you want to know and just hang out with them a little more often, right? And even just by osmosis, hopefully you'll pick something up. So yeah, I spent 10 years in the network marketing, 10, 12 years in that. I was nominated for Man of the Year with my last company. I was number 3 out of 5,000 in team building with the previous company. And, for whatever reason, I just decided I wanted to get back into real estate. The pandemic was upon us. I started to look at some different things that I wanted to do. And I reached out to a good friend of mine. And again, if you want to do something, reach out to the best person you know in that industry. And so that's what I did. I actually became the director of marketing and communications for the Thompson team here in Toronto, a couple of longtime friends of mine that had been very successful for 15 years in the industry. And and I mean, here in Toronto, you've got to spend about 350, almost 400 hours invested in online, education. That was a lot more than I remember having to do it the first time. But if you want to become a realtor, I mean, you got to kind of decide what do you want to do, right? And ultimately it's make a decision. I always say to people, make a decision, go after what you want and give it at least a year. And if you don't like it after that, that's all right. Change. I've changed many times in my life, career. I'm never afraid to set sort of, new trajectories, new goals, and to take on new things. So, follow your passion. The underpinning of anything that I've ever done is always about helping people.
Yeah, true. That's right. Right. It's like the underlying, principle, basically, I guess you can call it. But that's really interesting. I didn't know about your plan to becoming a doctor. Really interesting. So yeah, hats off for you realizing that, hey, maybe it's not really the path that I want to take. And I know a lot of people as well that usually they want to become they say they want to become a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, but it's not really what they truly want, right? It's because of society preaches that these careers a lot, but at the end of the day, what makes you happy is also and also the not just makes what makes you happy, but how you can design your lifestyle. I remember as well, the beginning of the year 2022, I went on a trip in Florida with one of my good friend, and I came to a realization is hey, we need to design our ideal life first and then build the business around it, and not the opposite, because that's what most people are doing. That they build a business and then they're like, oh shit, I have no time freedom. I'm a slave to my own business. I don't even control my own hours. I have to go do this and that. But I think you need to do the opposite and think it the other way around, so that it lasts long.
And I can actually speak out of experience. So I went out and I built my restaurants, right? So I thought I will build my business and I'll have this really amazing life. No, I literally worked 100 hours a week, right? 80 to 100 hours a week for many years, right? And then I realized that lifestyle was no longer a fit, right? That was not the lifestyle that I wanted. So what I decided on next was well, I built the business to have the lifestyle. I didn't get the lifestyle, so I'm going to flip it. Right. So I'm gonna pick my lifestyle, and and so that is important, and I think I'm always a big believer too. You got to kind of look at what your highest values are and then set your goals around that. So if your highest value is traveling and staying in posh hotels and you love that stuff, well, that stuff costs money. So don't take the job. I am a big believer. I've been an entrepreneur, Michael, for a long time. So I'm a big believer in don't let somebody else be in control of your destiny. There's a great book, Robert Kiyosaki, the basic fundamentals, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? So you're either a student, you either got time and money, or you have none in the quadrants. And that's that's such a great approach. And I think somebody asked me last week, Michael, what are 3 books that I should give to my daughters that I wish I had when I was their age, right? And I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad would be a good one. Think and Grow Rich, another one. I mean, those 2 books, and I can really look at those 2 books and say that if you look at those are pretty important, because one says, okay, okay, what's the lifestyle I want? And the other one kind of speaks to mindset of how am I going to get it, right?
Yeah.
Mindset, skill set, knowledge, most important, 10% skill set, 10% knowledge, 80% is your mindset. And mostly, as I say, Charles Swindoll, I used to have a poem on my, at the top of my laptop. And it's all about your attitude. It's 10% what happens to it. It's 90% how you react to it.
Sure. 100%. One question I had for you, Scott, is like, what would you say is like the biggest challenge? Like maybe they don't teach you that in school, or like, what, like once you start to get your license, right, as a realtor, what do you think like new realtors are not expecting, or that they don't see that obstacle coming in, coming out?
Well, I think I'm going to speak very quickly to three things. The first high level being entrepreneurs. So every entrepreneur is a minimum of 6 months underfunded, right? They get started, they think this is what it's going to cost, this is what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to start making money. And they fail to realize that they have a minimum. So whatever your capital plan is for whatever you need, add at least 6 months to it. And I would say, even if you're not capitalized for at least a full year, you got to be prepared to make nothing for a year. And I'm not saying you should or that you will, but what I will tell you is that can put a lot of downward pressure on somebody if they're not financially in a place, and I know that from different places in my life, right? So being financially prepared. The biggest obstacle, I think, for this category, if you have not worked for yourself before, that's going to be your biggest obstacle, right? It means like, if you've got the mindset, I get a paycheck every second Friday or every 2 weeks or every week, right, or every month, that's not what happens in this game. And so, I would definitely share with you that, you got to have a mindset. And so how do you overcome that? Invest in yourself, invest in personal development, invest in personal growth, get a coach, hang around people that are better than you, being plugged in. And that was one of the great things in network marketing. I mean, the communities, personal growth is, they say it's personal growth with a paycheck. The real estate game could be the same. There are some really great organizations. Pick the right organization to get involved with, hang out with people that are successful, and ultimately, have a great vision for where you want to go. Hey, listen, if somebody's been in the business, you've been in sales before, you've been in, an entrepreneur before, I think the biggest challenge is always going to be, it's easy to make money when, like I say, when the sun shines. Well, that's easy, right? It's, so put your head down and go. I think consistency, persistency, and as always, as I say, mindset, right? Mindset matters more than anything, right? And just, make a decision, make it once, get really clear on what you're doing, having goals, accountability. I've got an accountability partner I just dialed back into, and and I think balance, one of the things I learned in my past careers, Michael, is just balance. So, real estate can be a 24/7 game, just like the restaurant business. Probably why I picked it. I love getting out. I don't know. It's sort of almost a manicness to, whatever it is. Real estate's a little more controlled than the restaurant business. It does have some hours. So, I think the number one thing is make sure you got a coach, a mentor, a teammate, whatever it is. Even another real estate agent that's starting out, so you can do it together. What do they say is, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure. That's right. Great point. You touched about, make the decision. I think like, talking about this a little bit more, I think like a lot of people are not really committing fully, right? And that's what's preventing them to like, getting to the next step. So if you make that mental decision of, hey, this is actually what I want, and I'll do everything I need to like get there, it just helps fast track your success.
Yeah, as soon as you say that word commitment, right? There was a personal development class I did out in California, and there's something called the commitment ladder, right? So there's, I want this, I hope to have it. It's hope, want, desire, right? And then there's committed if. Well, I'm committed if I make enough money. Then there's committed when. Well, I'm committed when I get at least one listing a month. I'll be really in. And then there's committed, and committed energy attracts committed results, right? And I think it was Jim Rohn that said, show me your results and I'll show you your commitment level, right? And so, commitment, as I said, like make a decision, make it once, go all in, right? And they always say, it's a framework that I've had and I've used. Right. So it's called, there's the initiation stage of, right. It's sort of startup energy, right? So there's, I'm excited, I'm anxious, and then I'm frantic. There's fractious, a little bit of both. And then most people quit. And I don't know how many realtors there are, the 70,000 that, really aren't doing real estate right now, and it's typical of a lot of things, right? But they I'm going to do it. They got their license and think just didn't quote. And so they're really not committed. So, I think that is a great thing that you just spoke to is like, get committed, right? And committed means you're doing revenue producing activities. First thing I did, I got my license. First thing I did, Michael, was invest with you guys. You got to invest, and that's where that J curve will happen. If you can get past that, what it's called actually the first wall, right? Yeah. Most people, 90% of people quit before the first wall. You've got to reinvest. So, earmark some money, invest in something, invest in yourself, invest in, of course, invest in, better strategies like with you, Michael, and Regain. And, so yeah, that's it. Invest, and you'll see a J curve where things will go down. But if you stay in long enough, they will go up. And it is. That's it. It's like this, I quit, or it's like this, invest, down and up.
Yeah. They call it also like the hockey stick growth
that's
curve.
It. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the hockey stick, right? The other side of the J curve. Yeah, and there's a lot of goodness. I did experience that in network marketing. So I reinvested, and at the beginning it's tough, right? I mean, startup energy, and I'll just give to this quick story, is like, it's like a rocket ship, right? It takes 90% of fuel to get it off the rocket pad and up into the air to speed, right? Sure. That's it. So 90% of your time, energy, and money need to be devoted to revenue producing activities, investing in yourself. And as I say, always, like, if there's always something to do. You wouldn't be surprised to see me out knocking on doors. I don't know about today in this cold weather, but there's always something to do as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, definitely. To finalize the interview, Scott, like, can you talk a bit about, like, we talked about your story, where you came from, and like what got you to be a realtor? Like, what are the next steps, like the next milestones, the next goals you want to achieve, like, as a realtor?
Invest, more investment in opportunities like I have with you, Michael, to learn more. Digital media is not something I grew up with, so more learning, always to help more people, and sincerely, I mean that. And where am I going? Definitely, building a team. It's something I've done over the course of my life many times and many things. And the reason I want to build a team is twofold. Number one is it serves me because I get to help other people, right? I take a lot of pride in helping other people. I think it's probably my biggest trophies in life for the people that I've helped that have gone on to do great things. And the other thing, man, there's something to be said about leverage. It's something I've always wanted in my life. If you don't have leverage, you'll find it's like going to Mars with an oxygen tank and not having a backup plan, right? And it is, you really notice it when you don't have it. So thanks again, Michael, for having me here today. Great questions as always. You're a brilliant young mind, and grateful to be working with you.
Yeah, same here. Thanks a lot for the interview, Scott. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next video.